Hello, so my name is Nicolas Ferry from SINTEF Norway. I am working in the MODAClouds EU project, and I will present now works that has been done inside the project and in collaboration with some other projects, and in particular the Remix and Passage EU project. So I'm going to present the CloudML framework, which is a framework for your deployment of multi-cloud applications and the autonomic and dynamic adaptation of multi-cloud of the deployment of multi-cloud application. So here is the graphical user interface of our CloudML engine. And as you can see, I have already deployed an application, a simple application, which is an application where you can register a sensor and push data from sensor. So this application is right now deployed on our private cloud, and on our OpenStack private cloud. And all the nodes inside this graph are green because it depicts the fact that all this application has been successfully deployed and is up and running. So here I can, for instance, access to the application. So here I retrieve the IP, and then I access the application. Here it is, and I can, for instance, register a new sensor, which shows that actually the various components of the application are all working together. So right now I want to burst this part of this application from our private cloud to a public cloud, and I will burst to a Flexion public cloud. And to do so, I will load a new deployment model, so a new representation of deployment of my multi-cloud application that I will push to our deployment engine, and which will then deploy the burst part of the application to Flexion. So first I load a new deployment model. Here it is. I load it. So here is a new topology. So basically, I just add a new client, a new administration website to our system where we can register a sensor. And now I push this model to the CloudML engine. And here what happened is that we will compute, make the difference between the previous model describing the previous deployment of the application and the new model that I just pushed. And you can see in green in this deployment the part that were previously deployed and that are up and running. So this depicts that I can still access to this application. And in gray you can see the part which is my adaptation, which has not yet been deployed and installed on the Flexion cloud. So here the important aspect is that thanks to this diff mechanism, we only adapt the part of the applications that need to be adapted. So the part of the application which is not adapted will still be running, up and running, and can still be used. So now I just start my deployment. And this deployment, so we'll first create a new virtual machine on Flexion public cloud, and then install my the part of my application that I want to burst on this virtual machine. And this is the previous application and the new part of the application will still continue communicating. So CloudML will manage to configure both sides of the application so that they can discuss with each other. So here, as you can see, I told that the application, the part which is in green and which was already deployed, is still usable. So here I can still continue to register a new sensor inside the application. So here is a new one. So the application is still up and running, and the various components in green are still communicating. And while I can meanwhile see that the part, the virtual machine, one node in my graph is now in orange. It is a virtual machine, and it means that I am right now provisioning this virtual machine on the Flexion cloud. Once the virtual machine will be up and running, the node will turn into green, and now we can have a look at the Flexion interface, and we can see that there is a virtual machine which is in starting phase. So here all this change in color of the node are done by notification mechanism. So many clients can register to the notification mechanism of a CloudML engine, and actually every time a change will occur in the model of the deployment, a notification is sent to all the clients so that they are aware of what has happened in their deployment model. So this notification can also be used by any reasoning engine or any operator of a multi-cloud application in order to adapt the running system. Now we see that the virtual machine has turned to gray, so it is up and running. So we can have a look at the Flexion part, and it's running. And we start now the process of installing the application container and the web application inside the application container. So now we can see all nodes are green, so the deployment is finished. So we can try to access to the part of the application that has been deployed on the Flexion cloud. And we can see that we retrieve information that were previously stored by my previous test. So it means that all the components are well communicating and all communicating together. So this concludes my demonstration. So I would like to thank the organizer for this very nice day with a lot of interesting demos and presentations. So many thanks.